Take a look at some of these body shots. I wonder if there's more than 10 or 15 people on the planet who could live through those shots.
Fight fans, welcome back. If you see someone get hit like this, or like this, it should really end like this.
There's a perfect straight right hand, and Shorely's gonna stop the fight. What a performance!
However, whether due to conditioning, genetics, or even a stroke of luck, these are 50 huge punches that would have knocked out a horse. And yet somehow, they just shook it off and kept coming.
When you fall on your face, Bernardo, you usually don't get up.
Welcome to a Motivedia presentation.
Everyone agrees we have a potential classic on our hands.
As we prepare for Alvarez versus Crawford, there's no better time to remind you just how ridiculous Canelo's chin is.
You know, I called fights on HBO for more than 30 years. He probably has the best chin of anybody I've seen.
The first Triple G fight back in 2018 is a little special too, because both men ate fight-ending shots like they were nothing.
Triple G so much more confident now than in the early going.
Canelo ricocheted into the ropes by a Golovkin overhand right, only to be met with an unconcerned head shake.
Right hand. Canelo shakes his head. That usually means he got hit.
And then, in the ninth, came a perfect shot that quite literally entered boxing folklore, with the Kazakh barely even flinching.
Canelo has landed some very big shots in return, and Triple G has walked through them.
Back in '92, Bo versus Holyfield 1 was accurately described as a fight between a junkyard dog from Georgia and a Great Dane from Brooklyn. When you see a head snap back like this, especially following 10 rounds of war, it's usually night-night.
If you can feel the pain, then you're still in the game. It's when you don't feel the pain, you out.
Now he's mounting an attack.
An all-time great survival that even earned a tap of respect from Bo at the bell.
How in the world did he survive that initial uppercut?
The only one that can realistically top it came in the same Caesars Palace Arena 14 years prior, a night where, even with the best jab in the game, Larry Holmes' biggest career chin check came in the most brutal of fashions. The Easton assassin didn't just get up and fight back immediately, but went on to win. At the opposite end of his career, in 2010, Manuel Marquez was turning back the clock and wowing the U.S. audience with his speed and combinations.
Now the fight is turning out to be just what I thought it was going to be.
Following some words of praise, however, disaster struck.
Obviously, Katsinas has more muscle, but the sharpness of the punches is what punishes you over a period of time.
An enormous left hook with everything behind it.
Hard left hook by Katsinas, and Marquez is on his butt.
Followed by another survival masterclass that saw the Mexican recover to win.
He's looking to finish. Watch the combinations flow.
When Trinidad and Mayorga met in 2004, pre-fight animosity ensured the fight caught fire immediately.
Now the side bet, $100,000 being bet on the outcome.
An unexpected show of bravado, however, saw Mayorga invite Tito's feared left hook onto his chin not once, not twice, but 3 times.
But this is his first time at middleweight, so
Now he faces Trinidad's left hook. And this is a Mayorga tactic. He drops his hands.
Foolish and pretty freakish, considering how many people had been shut out by that exact same punch.
Don't lower your hands. Don't do that.
If it wasn't for Carl Froch's chin and recovery powers, his career-defining moment might have never materialized at all.
Does not look like a man who's overawed by this occasion, Groves. He looks like a man that's thriving in it.
Clipped a couple of times in the opener, he gave George Groves the exact response he wanted, walking recklessly into a perfectly timed 1-2. He survived the round and got back on top in a way that very few fighters could.
He's in trouble. He's taken another one and another, and Howard Foster has stopped it. Wow, that is going to be controversial.
Timothy Bradley plans on seizing the moment.
Another first-round scare came in 2009. Kendall Holt was expected to be little more than a springboard for Tim Bradley, who was fast approaching some of the biggest fights in the division.
Holt stepping off. He's got sneaky power in his right hand.
Just 2 minutes into the fight, however, the narrative changed.
Oh, a left hook. He stretched him in the first round with the left hand.
Fortunately, Bradley's career was saved by some innate survival skills and an unteachable calmness under pressure.
And Bradley may get out of the round, and he does. Wow!
Another adrenaline overdose came in 2003 as two generational heavyweight greats clashed in LA.
He took this fight on a 2 weeks notice. Literally, you just don't do that as a heavyweight champion unless you're overconfident. Complacent, it may just happen.
In the sixth, Vitaly Klitschko shipped an enormous right-hand uppercut that would have rendered 99.9% of humans unconscious.
Blinded left eye. Oh, what an uppercut.
He's fighting on pure heart, Klitschko is now.
Hey, guess what, guys? He can take a punch, too.
The Ukrainian took it like it was nothing, and the fight was only stopped 2 minutes later due to a cut.
Yelling, no, no, no. He didn't want the fight stopped.
In this case, it must be a genetic thing, because 15 years later, history would repeat itself in London. The aim of Vladimir's return in 2017 was to test AJ's chin and heart. And to say he succeeded would be an understatement.
Another one.
Shots.
Joshua's now backing up. Look at this. Klitschko has turned this around completely.
In the 11th, however, a near identical uppercut to the one his brother took 15 years earlier nearly sent Klitschko's head into orbit. An insane chin and poker face, but the pressure would ultimately be a little too much.
And here we go again.
A year later, fans got more value for money when two former AJ opponents met at the O2. In the ninth, Parker was rocked by the same shot that had KO'd White's previous opponent. With just 30 seconds of the fight remaining, however, an exhausted White was hit with a Samoan sledgehammer.
It's not, he survived! He survived!
He survived this round.
He survived! He has!
Weighing 213 and a half, Mike Tyson.
In 1986, Jose Revolta would take the kind of punishment from a young Mike Tyson that you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy.
Again, just tremendous body shots and what an uppercut.
In just the second round, Mike landed clean with his favorite body-head combination.
And there was an uppercut. What a shot.
Snapping the head back in a way that had made a lot of people quit, crumble, or completely lose consciousness.
Take a look at some of these body shots. I wonder if there's more than 10 or 15 people on the planet who could live through those shots.
Yeah, give instructions in the locker room. Is there anything in the blue corner?
Before prison, Ike Ibeabuchi had a similar fear factor to Iron Mike, and his final fight would come against unbeaten Chris Bird in 1999. Bird was a smooth mover, but this was a different kind of wrecking machine. Refusing to quit, Bird's battle to see out the round was cut short by the referee, to both his and the fans' frustration.
Ibeabuchi.
Probably one of the ugliest human beings. He is the ugliest human being I've ever seen in the flesh. You see his horror movies and you think, oh, no one can look like that. No, this guy truly does.
When Hay met Nikolai Valuev back in 2009, the 11-inch height difference prevented this one from ever really catching fire.
At a press conference this week, Hay said he would make Valuev look silly and embarrass him, and then, later in the fight, knock him out.
The third punch of a David Hay three-piece, however, with just a minute to go, nearly made for the perfect fairy tale ending.
Oh, he's got it going with a left hook. What a finish here! Hay gets to Valuev.
A shot that broke his hand and would have likely cracked any other chin in the entire division. Erislandy Lara is still reigning world champion today at 42 years of age. But back in 2013, before the Canelo fight, his career was nearly thrown off course by a different hard-hitting Mexican. A perfectly timed left hook in the fourth, and an even bigger one in the ninth. And more impressive still, he forced Angulo's hand just 3 minutes later. Another night with bad blood and two potential showstoppers came when Marcus Brown met Jean Pascal in 2019.
Pascal looked like he got hurt there a little bit. He was doing the right thing.
Landing the cleaner shots, Brown looked comfortable in the opening few, until a huge right hand counter in the fourth. In the seventh, there was more of the same.
Big right by Pascal! Got caught again! Got him off, threw in a punch! Pascal was waiting for that.
KO Dr. Dorticos!
A year prior, in the quarterfinals of the World Boxing Super Series, two unbeaten bruisers were aligned.
With their eyes locked on one another, looking for openings. Beautiful double left hand from Garcia.
Dorticos' chin was the story of the fight, affording him some moments of success in a hard-fought war.
How many more of these heavy single shots can he absorb?
A Gassiev left hook in the final stretch, however, spelt the beginning of the end.
Because once again, oh my goodness! A single left hook has sent Dorticos.
Surviving the punch, refusing to quit, but the Russian was just too clinical. Another Super Series shock came when Inoue faced Donaire.
He is what people made him to be, but at the same time, people forgot who I am.
At this point, the cloak of invincibility was still there, but the real acid test would arrive a minute into the ninth.
Oh! Down to right hand from Benito Donaire. Wow! Inoue rocked to his boots.
Maybe not a true one-hitter quitter, but with a broken eye socket and rattled to the core, lesser skilled and lesser willed fighters would have certainly crumbled.
What a warrior, an absolute monster, getting the crowd going.
It's not gonna be no easy fight for him. I don't think so.
It's impossible to forget Maidana knocking Floyd's tooth out and then making a necklace out of it.
¿Viste el diente? Acá está el diente de Mayweather.
But it's equally impossible to deny that the hardest Floyd was hit and his biggest survival mission came against Sugar Shane 4 years earlier. A second-round surprise that buckled Mayweather like we'd never seen before.
Don't worry about getting the exchange with that boxing. You beat him easy when you're boxing.
Al, you know what they say? Boxing is the theater of the unexpected.
Having shut away 13 of his last 15 opponents, Efe Ajagba was enjoying some early Deontay Wilder comparisons. Iago Kiladze was next in line, but he certainly wouldn't make it easy. A huge right hand in the second, and an even bigger one in the third. But you should never be too reckless against a man with an iron chin. If you thought we might miss this one out, you're crazy.
This will be like a good amateur fighting a real professional.
Labeled Fight of the Century for good reason, and a perfect reminder of the breed of fighters that existed back in the 70s.
Well for Ali that missed.
Ali and Frazier gave each other hell for 15 straight rounds before what was, and maybe still is, the most cinematic punch of all time.
Ali was flat on his back, but he's a well-positioned athlete. However, he's real tired. The crowd, needless to say, is in a pickle.
This time we see Revolta doing the damage instead of receiving it against another aggressive power puncher and former Tyson opponent, Bruce Seldon.
Nice clean fight. Shake hands, good luck to both.
Bizarrely, as the opening bell sounded, the Cuban hit Seldon with something nobody in the world expected.
Ball comes right out, attack, Seldon with the right hand, and Seldon goes down. Wow, a shocker.
A stop, a wobble, and a drop in just the first 10 seconds.
Let him go.
He looked like he was on the canvas. He would never get up, and he jumped up. Wow.
Razor Ruddock.
We'd already seen Razor Ruddock's incredible chin in his fights against Tyson.
Oh, down goes Ruddock off an overhand right.
And it was going to be called into question again 4 years later against Tommy Morrison.
Oh, there goes Morrison.
An exchange of uppercuts saw both men taste the canvas early.
Paid for it. Oh, he hurt Ruddock with a right uppercut.
But it wasn't until the 6th that the big one really came.
What a terrific shot. Morrison hitting. Morrison hitting on the break, and both men have been guilty of that. How about Ruddock getting up?
In 2009, Teddy Atlas's pre-fight monologue about Randall Bailey's power formed a preconception of what was about to happen to Juan Urango.
Urango better have his sneakers on because early in this fight, he's going through a bad neighborhood. The neighborhood of that straight right hand, that explosive knockout power right hand of Bailey's.
By the middle rounds, following some more praise, he looked to have called it perfectly.
He just has a God-given ability to knock someone senseless with a thundering right hand.
And there it is.
And there it is. He's right.
But Urango wasn't there to lay down.
Urango did what Figueroa could not do, and that was get up.
Not only did he get up, he continued grinding to eventually stop Bailey in the 11th.
Corner stops the fight. Does Randall Bailey stop? Juan Urango holds on to his junior welterweight championship.
So there is Hearns. Familiar figure.
In 1987, Tommy Hearns stepped in against Britain's Dennis Andries as a light heavyweight in a bid to become the first world champion in 4 different weight classes.
Because even guys in my own division, you know, real 175 pounders, they have nightmare when they have to face me.
Andries was a step below skill-wise, but a different breed size-wise.
Hasn't, however, taken over the fight and dominated and
An enormous shot in the 6th, however, looked to have ended things before another of the most incredible round survivals ever.
Oh, this is brutal. We talked about a tremendous chin. Let me tell you something. Andres just took a tremendous right hand.
The narrative will tell you that Canelo doesn't like movers, so Saunders stepping up represented the ultimate kryptonite and probably the last realistic chance of stopping the Mexican's 168-pound warpath.
This will be the biggest upset in boxing history, I believe, in certainly the last 20 years.
Move as he did, however, a huge looping uppercut in the 8th stopped him in his tracks.
6, Canelo. Only 2 rounds old. Saunders took an awkward step back. And now
To his credit, Saunders survived the round with a broken eye socket before an eventual corner stoppage.
They have stopped the fights. It is over.
And this is going to be the biggest win ever, I believe. I just can't wait to shock the world.
Ironically, Billy's stablemate suffered a similar fate 5 years prior when Brooks signed to face the 160-pound boogeyman.
High stakes, remarkable risk for huge reward.
Any pre-fight worries revolved around Golovkin's punching power. However, what really made it unwinnable was his chin.
Backing Brooke up.
Rizzo. There's the body shot. He's hurt early on.
And after having his own eye socket shattered in the opener, Brooks' cleanest shot of the fight just minutes later had absolutely no effect.
What an uppercut from Calbro. A beautiful shot in the second round.
Another Brit, with another mammoth task ahead of him, came when Amir Khan was bravely matched up with the relentless Argentine Marcos Maidana.
It's going to make me or break me. And if I want to be the superstar and if I want to be the champion I say I am, then I have to win this fight.
Khan's hand speed was still A+ at this stage, and he was using it effectively. In round 10, however, we'd see his recovery powers and chin look the best they ever did.
Holding on right now. Donna too tired to land cleanly. Maidana can't get him out of there.
Nobody in the world makes light work of Sean Porter pressure, and Errol Spence, even pre-car crash, was no exception.
I love Errol Spence too. But Friday night, you know, I got to be his worst enemy.
30 seconds remaining in round 1, scheduled for 12.
An iconic fight with a lot of extremely close rounds, where a split-second exchange made all the difference.
1 minute remaining and
Beckoning Spence in, Porter shook it off and survived the round, but fell out of favor on the judges' scorecards.
Errol Spence Jr. This one threatens to steal the show from the main event.
A single shot can change everything, and it almost did back in 2014 too, as Richard Comey crafted ways past Robert Easter's jab.
Mayweather. And almost a knockdown. He calls it. He put his hand on the ground.
This one looks a lot worse in slow motion, and when you consider that Comey had taken out 5 back-to-back opponents just like this, it makes Easter's survival to a split decision victory all the more impressive.
This is a close. Oh! Comey staggered, but stays up!
Both in the dressing room. I expect our professionals at all times obey my instructions and watch it. Any questions? Let's go to work.
Last September, nobody really expected Daniel Dubois to be quite that dominant.
They went for the haymaker.
5 knockdowns over 5 rounds saw Joshua needing something desperate. A Hail Mary that would honestly have put most of the division either down or out. The split-second confidence boost, however, would play right into Dubois' hands. In his previous fight, things didn't look so promising.
Let's get this party started!
And if you took a shot every time Philip Hrgovic landed a right hand on Dubois, you'd need an ambulance by round 6.
Oh, he set that one up, double jab, boom!
Following that, however, it was Hrgovic's chin in the second half, which actually impressed the masses.
Oh! How is Hrgovic still standing? Whoa, right hand!
Battered, bleeding, and being beaten, the Croatian refused to quit, but was waved off on doctor's orders. The new generation is already in full effect, and you'd be foolish to ignore Donaire Pero as a heavyweight hopeful in the coming years.
You're going to warm him his engine up quicker. Look at this combination on the ropes.
The hype did almost end prematurely, however, following a sickening overhand right from Cesar Navarro.
Big shot to the body. Yeah, huge right hand from Cesar Navarro, and he puts down the massive Cuban heavyweight. He's hurt.
Impressive smarts and whereabouts to ride this out at such a young age, and a far greater lesson than any early round demolition.
Oh my goodness!
Back in 2013, prime Lucas Matthysse was a walking sledgehammer.
Dominate rounds.
But Danny Garcia was a fan favorite for a reason.
Garcia.
Matthysse.
Listen, angles, right hand.
Pawing with the jab to land the perfect right hand sent Swift's mouthguard flying into the fourth row.
Garcia 28 according to show stats. That was Matthisse's
The mouthguard of Danny Garcia just popped out with that.
Dancing and hanging on, but never giving up.
He just missed that right hand and got that one in.
Right hand in the body, three-punch combination. Garcia has Matthysse down.
Here comes the challenger.
Another historic and well-documented affair with two-sided success came when famous fathers collided back in 1990. Lesser known, however, are the fourth-round intricacies. Anything that stumbles senior like this would have caused any other fighter serious issues, but deeper still, the uppercut split the tongue and should really have ended the fight.
If I would have told the referee or my corner that I was swallowing all this blood, or they would have seen that cut, the fight would have been stopped.
Refusing to admit it, Senior fought on, eventually forcing his own ninth-round stoppage.
Busloads of people came in here today from eastern Pennsylvania.
With Larry Holmes back in the spotlight, we're reminded that a good jab will take you around the world. But if you're open to the right hand, you'll eventually find a way to the canvas.
Difference in skills. Good hit on the break, and now he got mad.
At the start of the seventh, Larry was clipped again in brutal fashion.
Continue.
Superhuman recovery powers, however, had him back up and back on top within a minute towards another insane comeback.
What a turn of events, ladies and gentlemen. You saw the snipes, right?
For the bout you've all been waiting for.
When referencing past generations, they'll always tell you that they just don't make them like this anymore.
The heavyweight championship of the world.
But the cinema-esque recovery of Tyson Fury against Deontay Wilder that night in Vegas begs to differ.
Oh, and down he goes! Right hand, left hand, and I don't think he's going to get up. Can he get up? He does! Oh my goodness!
A throwback moment which won over the hearts of the U.S. audience, as he didn't just rise, but fought back to win the rest of the round.
One of the most extraordinary final rounds you would ever see.
In terms of seismic shifts, there's no bigger event than Douglas Tyson.
Well, in the important game of expectations, this fight is over before it begins or soon thereafter.
Despite giving Mike everything he could handle, the get-out-of-jail card was always there.
Douglas giving as good as he gets inside right there.
And in round 8, he'd find it.
And there's a right hand uppercut, and down goes Douglas. And suddenly is that.
Controversial because of the length of time Douglas was given, but it still makes for another of those superhuman recoveries, allowing him to pull off the biggest sporting upset in history just 5 minutes later.
Rolling willingly just to try to get in the shot that will finish things in his uppercut. What an uppercut by Douglas, and down goes Tyson.
13 years prior, another generational puncher met their match.
That's a defense most anybody would have to use to face me. Stay away.
When he squared off with Jimmy Young, George Foreman already had the Ali rematch on his mind to avenge the only fight he'd ever lost.
Foreman looks huge, and yet he's never been more trimmed. He looks so much bigger than Young.
In the seventh, a thudding left hook on the end of a three-piece scrambled Young's senses. He didn't just recover, he shocked the world by outboxing and outworking George for the remainder. Moving into some black and white film of the late 50s, Archie Moore was floored by Yvonne Durrell in the opener by a vicious right hand that had his head bouncing off the canvas.
If he were to get it, and he just did, with a right hand to the jaw. No mandatory 8 count. There is no automatic 10 seconds. Archie Moore is going to make it.
staggering all over everywhere, down 3 times, and yet somehow holding everything together to come back in style.
Now Burrell seems to be on his way as Moore hangs into the fence.
The executioner!
Back when Hopkins and Tarver met in 2006, Bernard initially announced it as the final bout of his Hall of Fame career.
He's been telling us for the last couple of years that he wasn't going to fight beyond the age of 40. Told us that repeatedly, fight after fight after fight.
Little did we know, there was another full decade left in the tank.
Hopkins again, another right hand by Hopkins. That one landed and bothered Tarver.
Hopkins wasn't known for one-punch power, but Tarver was known for his grit and chin, so a huge right hand that forced a rare canvas touch.
His glove touched the canvas. It is a knockdown.
Only put the chef's kiss on an eventual Hopkins whitewash.
And stares, as if to say, there's my statement.
Introducing the future of boxing.
Before moving up to middleweight, Jermall Charlo would have one last super welterweight showdown against Julian J. Rock Williams.
By Williams on the inside. Oh, and that jab sent Williams to the canvas.
It was a battle of the counterpunchers from the offset, but Charlo's shots had a little more sting, and in round 5 it would show. Usually a head snap face plant combination like that shuts lights out. However, while his fate was sealed, Williams certainly wasn't going easily.
1 minute left. Charlo trying to close the show.
With one of the best chins and hearts we've ever seen, who can begrudge another Holyfield mention?
If he stays self-contained and is the real Evander Holyfield, the real deal, he should get the job done.
In the moment that really made the man, the first knockdown of Evander's professional campaign came against the limited but extremely dangerous Burt Cooper.
And there's that sneaky right hand. Holyfield wobbles in the corner. The champion in trouble.
Ruled a knockdown since the ropes kept him up, but Holyfield was back in a heartbeat.
Oh, what a right hand by Holyfield. And now it's Cooper who is standing stock still. But Burt Cooper won't go down.
Fate under the pressure of Manny Pacquiao. A flash knockdown came in the 3rd, before something far more devastating in the 4th.
Two are giving it everything. Oh, Cotter's gone! Beautiful punch!
A notoriously difficult man to drop, and Pacquiao did it twice. But Miguel still rode out the punishment to the final round.
Kenny Bayless says no more! Manny Pacquiao has another sensational night!
10 rounds in the lightweight division.
Another first-round gasp came when Javier Fortuna fought untested prospect Omar Douglas in Philly.
In the fighters meeting, I was surprised that he's in there a tough fighter like this tonight.
Fortuna was applying pressure early, but his forward momentum only made any return fire all the more devastating.
Fortuna plants a straight left hand! Oh!
A huge counter left, paired with another thudding shot on the way down, which could have easily ended things right there for the Dominican.
Counters, and a wild first round comes to an end.
Introducing to you first on my right, fighting out of the blue corner.
Darnell Boone was one of those guys that was far better than his record would have you believe. And in the early days, against a rising Andre Ward, he gave the Olympic gold medalist a rude awakening. For the first time ever, but recovering how a champion should, lighting a fire under a future Hall of Famer.
I think I got dropped in the, I don't know if that was a 6 or 8, but I had, whatever round it was, I had 2 rounds left, bro. Yeah. I don't know how I got through them rounds. I'm fighting on instinct, bro. Straight instinct. God had to be with me that night.
This is the featured contest of the evening.
The only other time Ward tasted the canvas came a decade later against Kovalev. Instead, however, we're focusing on their second fight, where he was the one dishing it out.
Southpaw on the right hand. Andre Ward really wobbles Kovalev there.
Kovalev never went down somehow, but the placement of this shot and the power put into it showed just what a force the Russian was.
Kovalev in massive trouble as Andre won!
Unfortunately, after this, he was never quite the same.
This is the fight the boxing world has been waiting for!
Battling for undisputed light welterweight supremacy back in 2021, Josh Taylor. Ramirez started and ended fast, but in the middle rounds, the momentum was all Josh Taylor. Two separate shots straight on the button. Lesser men would have crumbled, but Jose had serious heart.
This is boxing. This is what an undisputed unification fight should look like.
Letterlow, 31 years of age, spent 7 years in prison from the School of Hard Knocks.
We've kept this one until near the end because the footage quality isn't quite there, but don't let that fool you. Because action-wise, when Letterlaw met Gonzalez, it was one of the best of the decade.
Now goes Gonzalez from a counter shot, fighting the war fight.
Another superhuman survival that earned Gonzalez a well-deserved victory.
It's early, but it's the fight of the year.
Lastly, if you package the phrase immovable object versus an unstoppable force into modern boxing, then Joyce versus Zhang was it.
Really good shot left hand! Same as the first fight, Joyce walked straight onto it.
A rematch in which the Brit would ultimately suffer the same fate.
Looks a little bit gun-shy from the first fight. Needs something to happen for him to give him... Oh,
and while Joyce did technically get knocked out here, missing the count by a fraction, the fact that he rose to his feet willing to continue, where most people have been on the floor for half an hour, for me, still puts it right up there with the best boxing recoveries that there's ever been.
Nasty shot right there.